Ever wondered why, even though hamburgers are made of beef, the term ham can be found inside the word hamburger? This confusing association has led to an increased usage of the term beef burger to better align with things like chicken burger, veggie burger, and even bison burger. If you've ever learned any German before, the word hamburger likely makes more sense to you than the average English speaker. The original hamburger originated in Germany, particularly in Hamburg. In German, to say something is from a region, like a Canadian is from Canada, a Peruvian is from Peru, a Mexican is from Mexico, etc., they use So hamburger literally means from Hamburg. When English borrowed the word hamburger to represent this style of meat, English speakers took notice that the word ham is contained within the word. Although in German, ham is not a complete word, but part of the word Hamburg, which led to the widespread usage of burger in English. This incorrect splicing of ham and burger in English is known as a folk etymology. Etymology is the study of the origin or history of words. If a word, prefix, or suffix is of an unfamiliar origin, such as from an archaic word no longer used, or a word borrowed from another language, like hamburger, the speakers of a language can unknowingly assign a false etymology of that word, prefix, or suffix, which is exactly what happens when English speakers recognize ham in hamburger, instead of the whole Hamburg. In this video, we're going to explore the fascinating linguistic phenomenon of folk etymologies. As mentioned before, a folk etymology normally occurs when a word or part of a word has unfamiliar origins. Typically, the word or part of a word comes from a word borrowed from another language or an archaic word that isn't used any longer, like a part of a word that has survived from Old English. The word then begins to change in various ways, such as the creation of new words like burger, which would never have existed if ham was not an easily recognized English word. Let's take the word goodbye, for example. Some common expressions in English are good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. The origin of these words is all very clear. The word good plus the time of day, morning, afternoon, evening, night. But goodbye doesn't share these origins. Originally, the expression was God be with you. Over time, God be with you became more and more contracted until Godbye became the expression, without any clear ties to the original expression of God be with you. Speakers at the time might have assumed that Godbye had similar origins to good morning, good afternoon, and others. And Godbye then changed to goodbye in order to align with the seemingly related words. This change then prompted speakers to imagine that good and bye were actually two separate words, exactly like good and morning and good and afternoon. This ultimately prompted the creation of a new word, bye, which was due to a folk etymology of the expression Godbye, incorrectly assumed to be related to greetings like good morning. As in the case of goodbye and burger, folk etymologies can impact not only just the pronunciation, but also the spelling and the meaning of the word as well. Two common word changes that are often the result of folk etymologies are rebracketing and back formations. A back formation is a type of language change where a word is presumed to have a suffix or prefix. For example, the noun editor was an English word before the verb to edit. The word editor came from Latin, and at some point, speakers associated the last sounds of editor, or, to be the same as the English suffix, er, which designates someone who does something, for example. Someone who runs is a runner. Someone who writes is a writer. Someone who reads is a reader. Why can't someone who's an editor edit? As a result, this folk etymology created the verb to edit. Another example of a back formation due to a folk etymology is the word pea. The original word was peas, which was singular, so a single peas. At some point, peas was assumed to be plural, creating a new singular form, pea. If you're enjoying this video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could support my channel by liking this video. I'd also love it if you subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on new content. If you want to get exclusive access to new videos in advance of their release, as well as updates from projects that I'm working on, consider joining my Patreon community to help support me to create more videos for you. There's a link in the description. Rebracketing is what we saw earlier with hamburger, where the original word in German was divided as Hamburg and was later divided as ham and burger in English. Similarly, the word apron was originally napron in Middle English, coming from the French napperon. The N at the beginning of napron was confused with the English indefinite article an, which led to the dropping of the initial N, creating the new word apron. Female is another example of rebracketing. The word female comes from the Old French word femelle, which is different than the Old French word for male or mâle in French. In Middle English, speakers noticed a similarity in pronunciation between male, or possibly mâle, and femelle, and changed the spelling of female to reflect that of male. However, the original word female had different origins than male. Folk etymologies aren't just something of the past. They're actually happening right before our eyes as we speak. I'm sure you can even think of some examples of things that people say incorrectly that they attribute to incorrect histories of a word or incorrect borrowings of words from other languages. For example, nip it in the butt instead of nip it in the bud. You've got another thing coming instead of you got another think coming. Old-timer's disease instead of Alzheimer's disease, or espresso instead of espresso. Sorry, Italians. In these cases, we can see that the usage of bud, think, and Alzheimer are all words which speakers see as being from unclear origins. Think is not used as a noun very often, so this is an archaic usage of think. Alzheimer is someone's name, so the origin of this word is unclear to many speakers. It just so happens that the pronunciation of Alzheimer is close to old-timer, which has led to a new name altogether. Espresso is originally an Italian word, espresso, and the coffee itself is a coffee that's consumed quickly. So speakers of English have created a folk etymology that espresso is fast, so it must be expresso, from the word express. Folk etymologies are incredibly fascinating, and they can be found in all sorts of different languages around the world. If you speak another language, try and think of some examples of folk etymologies in your language. Feel free to share in the comments below because I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to my channel to learn more about the world's languages. Don't forget to turn on the notifications to be notified about new videos each week. Here are some other videos you might be interested in.